Hello, music fans. You're watching Death by Unicorn, and this is my show, What's New 2024, where I talk about new albums that came out recently in metal, rock, and prog. And today I'm talking about 6 albums that came out that I listened to that came out on February 16th, 2024. And I'll talk about them in my order of preference, starting with Ihsahn and his self-titled album. This is his 8th album. He's a Norwegian musician. This is progressive cinematic black metal with classical and symphonic influences. This is a near masterpiece, which is my second highest rating. I give a masterpiece very selectively. So, near masterpiece, I think it's the first one that I've given this rating this year. And I've only given one masterpiece out this year. So, right now, it's my second favorite album of the year so far. This was probably my most anticipated album of February 2024. Ihsahn is the frontman of the classic Norwegian black metal band Emperor. He released 2 versions of this album. One is a progressive black metal version, and one is an orchestral version without vocals. The progressive black metal version of this album also features the orchestral sounds in the background. So I was wondering if maybe the orchestral version is something he put together to play as a backing track behind his band for live shows, and then thought it sounded cool to listen to on their own. I'm not entirely sure if that's what happened, but that's just a theory. I listened to both the progressive black metal version and the orchestral version. I enjoy both of them. He has such a unique and boundary pushing style. But the most similar artists I can think of are, of course, his band Emperor, as well as Enslaved, who are also from Norway, and Xanthocroid. Check this out if you're a fan of any of those artists. Blood Trails to Love has a catchy hook. You'll hear quite a few catchy hooks. He does melodic hooks on the album in between the harsh black metal shrieks that he's known for. I likely won't return to the orchestral version too often, I think, even though it's great. It seems to me that that's more of like a bonus instrumental orchestral version of the album. It's cool to have that though, if you want to just listen to it with a more cinematic vibe or play this great music for people who don't like black metal vocals. My favorite tracks after a couple listens are Blood Trails to Love, Hubris and Blue Devils, and At the Heart of All Things Broken. Next album I want to talk about is Steve Hackett and The Circus and the Nightwhale. This is progressive rock with classical influences. It's the 28th album by this amazing guitarist from the UK. He's a legendary guitar player, most famous for his time in Genesis. His guitar playing on this album is great. Lots of cool solos that include finger tapping, whammy bar, bluesy playing, and then he has other guitar parts on the album that are soft, acoustic, sometimes even classical sounding. His vocals on the album are pretty good too. He brings in some great guest vocalists. Yeah, so he does some of the vocals himself, but he also has some great guest vocalists, and he has great guest musicians or great backing band as well. Great drums, great bass. I didn't write down all the musicians, so I'm not going to try to remember all the names of who played on it, but they're all great. Check this out if you're a fan of Steve Hackett or of Genesis, or if you just like hearing great prog rock music with great guitar playing and classical music sprinkled in. Now, the third album I want to talk about today is by Eternal Storm, and it's called A Giant Bound to Fall. This is the second album by this Spanish band. It's melodic death metal with black metal and progressive metal influences. Now, this is excellent. For Ihsahn, I gave it near masterpiece. My next rating below near masterpiece is excellent, so I give Steve Hackett and Eternal Storm both excellent rating. I've never listened to an album by Eternal Storm before, but I heard an early single from this album. It sounded good. I put them on my list to listen to. The album is just beautiful and relaxing, while also being crushingly heavy, melodic, yet still brutal death metal with a lot of progressive tendencies and songwriting that take you on a journey. Some moments get you in a trance, almost like post-metal on here. A track that stuck out to me on first listen was Last Refuge. The album also starts with a prog epic that's over 13 minutes long called An Abyss of Unreason. Next, I want to talk about an EP by Toehider called Toehider. Toehider is an amazing Australian artist. This is progressive rock with metal influences. This one is excellent as well. It's an EP. It consists of only one almost 19-minute epic prog track. Too bad it's just an EP though. If he did a full-length album with 2 or 3 epic tracks like this, of this caliber, I think this would be an album of the year contender. Out of all the EPs in his 12 EPs in 12 months project that he's doing, so far this is my favorite, and this is also the one that reminds me the most of my favorite album by Toehider, which is I Have Little to No Memory of These Memories from 2022, which won my album of the year that year. I love when he makes these prog epics that touch on different genres and different styles and really take you on a journey. And lyrically, he's silly and fun as well. It's just a joy to listen to. Love it. That's Toehider. Toehider is the name of the EP. Awesome. Now I want to talk about Einar Solberg and his album, The Congregation Acoustic, which is a live album. He's a Norwegian singer. This is progressive rock done in a classical solo piano style. Of course, you'll know Einar Solberg is the lead singer of the band Leprous, and this is him performing Leprous music by himself. It's kind of an acoustic version of the 4th album by Leprous. It's really cool to hear these songs interpreted in this stripped down solo piano and vocal way, as opposed to the original heavy prog metal approach that Leprous takes. I prefer the originals to these versions, of course, but this is still a fun listen. Einar's voice is great, like always. His piano playing is on point too. It's just really cool to hear how great his vocals are, even with this being live recordings. So check out Einar Solberg, The Congregation Acoustic Live, if you're a fan of Leprous or just a fan of like great vocals and great piano and cool proggy songs. And lastly, I want to talk about See You Next Tuesday and their album Relapses, which is more of a remix album. It's weird. They're an American deathcore band. This album's, while it is a deathcore album, it's got that mathcore, grindcore, industrial metal, avant-garde, experimental, and electronic influences. This one leans really heavy into the electronic side. In February 2023, they returned with their album Distractions, which was their first new album in 15 years. But on this release, Relapses, you hear an electronic forward re-edit of Distractions. And in creating Relapses, See You Next Tuesday's multi-instrumentalist and producer Drew Slavic leads the charge, revitalizing the songs into something totally different, bringing collaborators on board. He was inspired by Fear Factory's 1997 remix album Remanufacture, and the songs on Relapses use components of the songs from Distractions to create an original record. You'll hear See You Next Tuesday's blend of experimental metal and grindcore combined with industrial, electronic, and avant-garde noises. For the album, the band worked with a number of artists in creating tracks, including Thought Crime, Zombie Shark, Black Magnet, and more. The final track on the record, The Gold Room, is a totally new creation made with metal mathcore band Frontier. This album is not for the faint of heart. It's not for people who can't handle harsh vocals and weird music. It's very brutal and intense, very strange, maybe even a bit too much for me. It's kind of weird. It's like listening to the most extreme metal music while at the same time it being kind of like electronic and like club remix. This one doesn't get an excellent rating or anything. I'm just going to give it a good rating. Listen if you're interested. For Einar Solberg, I'm going to give him a very good, so slightly above this, not quite excellent, because I still really love the Leprous versions of the Einar Solberg songs more. And those are my thoughts on these 6 albums that came out on February 16th that I listened to so far. Let me know if there's anything else that came out recently that you think I would enjoy. And let me know what you think of these albums that I mentioned today. Have you heard them? What do you think of them? Do you like them? Or did I mention something today that you really want to check out? Let me know. I always love hearing if I turn somebody on to some new music. So let me know down in the comments, and stay tuned for next time. Peace out.